and there's a great group of kids. I know Tyler very well, and yeah, so he was concerned if this would be an issue, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I looked it up afterwards and stuff, and it seems a above board organization with a great history. So, yeah. Did I get a second?
Second.
Any questions or further discussion? Okay, we will do roll call. Cheryl? Aye. Tim?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
And myself, yes. So motion carries.
Congratulations.
So the next is to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 149, Section 33E, sick pay for organ donation. John?
So this is a section of the law that allows employers to give employees an absence, leave of absence of up to 30 days in a calendar year to serve as a solid organ donor, it's called. So this has to do with essentially giving kidney or liver, be the big ones. And so this is essentially in addition to the other benefits that employees have. It's time that's not taken from their sick leave. It's time that doesn't result in any kind of a loss of their other benefits. And it is meant to make it easier for people who want to donate an organ to be able to do so without having to navigate financial difficulties because of their recovery.
So we can make a motion for this? Yeah, I make a motion to accept the leave of absence to serve as organ donor, state, county, and certain municipal employees.
Second that.
There you go. Yeah, this is something we had talked about before, and I just think if someone's doing something that altruistic to help another human, then it's the least that we can do to help them.
Do we have the opportunity to amend this?
To what?
To amend the statement that we're voting on?
We're voting on a Mass General Law, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can amend the law. I think you could amend the motion. I could imagine it could be.
Well, I was just looking at the first paragraph, and it says, loss of leave to which he is otherwise entitled. That should say to which the employee is otherwise entitled, because it could be a she.
Right.
Since the whole federal government is so hooked on pronouns, it might be correct.
Right.
All right.
That's a good catch.
I could assure you that if this was to pass, I would implement it in a non-discriminatory way.
All right, any other additional questions or discussion? Okay, roll call. Cheryl? Aye. Tim?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Rich?
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, and myself, yes. All right, so motion carries. Thank you for that. So we'll continue with old business. So this is to discuss scheduling a meeting contingent upon the outcome of the town meetings that are occurring on Monday, May 11th.
This was a request that I put forth just because we don't know the outcome of the meetings and we have a large number of employees who've been issued layoff notices. I think if there's any possibility, which there is always some non-zero possibility that budget might fail, I think it might be good to have a meeting scheduled very soon thereafter so that we can discuss strategy on how you'd like us to handle any kind of gap we may find ourselves in between what the towns approve and what our budgetary needs are. Everyone is available at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, the day after the town meeting, so I think it might be advisable just to have a placeholder meeting on the books so that if things don't go as we had hoped for at the two town meetings, we have an opportunity to discuss strategy for how to implement a plan for getting through the budget gap that could result.
I have an inquiry. I was always under the impression that Hamden was going to meet a couple weeks before Wilbraham, but now they're both meeting on the same day?
Yes.
Okay, great.
believe I thought Wilbraham was meeting later this year, but now they're meeting.
Yeah, I thought there was a couple weeks in between. That's great, okay.
Is everyone okay with that? Okay.
That doesn't need to be a motion or anything, that's just, and I think we've already been contacted. It's a very important day, May 12th.
And May 11th.
No, my son's playing at Minnechaug Field right over here. At the same time, we'll be at that meeting. And yes.
All right, so we'll continue with the Assistant Superintendent for Finance Operations and Human Resources.
And that meeting does not replace the 20th meeting, is that correct?
No.
Correct. It's just an additional, yeah.
Good evening. In your packet is a short memo from me relative to the status of the current year's budget. I think the short story is we're progressing it kind of the same way we have for the last several months. Those things that have been negatively impacting or positively impacting our budget remain consistent throughout. Fortunately, things like snow and ice removal has stopped, and so we're getting a sort of final tally on what that's going to cost us, and it's over budget by a pretty significant amount. I'll have to say that this is the most expensive snow and ice year we've had in at least 5 years, because I was looking at sort of history. So our decision last year to sort of lower the amount, because we hadn't been spending anywhere near what we've been budgeting, that happens. So c'est la vie. Fortunately, we have a circumstance where we've got some turnover in staff, which has been, the new hires have been at a little less salary, so we've got some capacity within that sort of budget area to help cover the cost. We'll be doing that over the course of the next several weeks as we wind down the year, and we'll come to you with any budget amendments or adjustments that we need you all to make, either late in May or in the meeting in June to sort of put the final bow on the fiscal year. And so I think there are also notes on the sort of grid of numbers there that speak to some of the things that you're seeing and some gaps and some ways in which we're going to cover that. Circuit breaker funds are going to help us out in some spots. We've got some capital reimbursement from the towns that we'll be getting over the next few weeks. That sort of thing that'll help us out a little bit. And as far as, one piece I also wanted to mention was our strategy relative to the fiscal 27 budget, which was to sort of either pre-purchase or save some resources for use in the next fiscal year. We've targeted a particular amount of $177,561, I believe. I think the most straightforward way to handle that at this point is to not spend some of the intended school choice funds that we're going to use this year. So we have currently in fiscal 26 $850,000 budgeted for use, and we typically apply that to our personal health insurance. Personnel health insurance. We'll probably use less. I think we have the resource to be able to cover that. We may do some other moving of funds through other accounts to sort of balance that out. But that will give us a fairly straightforward way to carry the funds forward a year and then use them in fiscal 27. If you amend the budget, which you likely might need to do, we'll formally make that a part of that vote. So you'll see that change in school choice funds that support the budget in the sort of offset section when we get there. And we're likely, there's a few things we buy every year, so we'll probably leverage this for like curriculum materials purposes, just as a sort of simple designation of where we're going to spend those funds. But just want to give you a heads up, that's where we're headed at the moment. As we play out the next few weeks, that may change a little bit, but I'm hoping not. But hopefully that's a strategy or the strategy that we can use. And I'm happy to answer any questions you will have relative to this budget update.
I know the good news is we were in La Nina weather pattern, and that's why we got so much foul weather. But from what I'm reading, it looks like we're out of that. We're back into El Nino. So hopefully this next winter coming up, they won't know until August if we're in it or not or whatever. But the forecast is that we're looking for a lot milder winter. Yeah. So, great work on this. Thank you.
Shall I continue? Okay. So next up are technically I believe 3 memos to you regarding changes in fees. This is relative to your adoption of the budget as part of that process of going through and finding some other supports for the budget from a financially, from a resource standpoint as opposed to an expense reduction standpoint. You had voted to have athletic fees go up by 5%, preschool fees go up 5%, and facility use fees go up 10%. So what's reflected in each of these is the sort of manifestation of those requests. And with athletics, we've had some fee adjustment over the last couple of years, so it's not a straight percentage change to all of them. And so the part of, it's an overall 5% on the revenue side of things. So the athletic director looked at, participation levels, times the fee equals dollars, and then got that to net out to 5% overall, given the number of athletes that have traditionally participated. One other thing that I want to point out in particular about athletics, and other schools have done this, we have not, and given that we're making I believe the third change in 5 years of rates, the athletic director felt that if we could provide a little bit of relief for families that have active participation and have a family cap at $1,500, it's not a huge impact, financially, and I think for those families that have, either a number of athletes or very, very active athletes, it just provides a little bit of relief for them. So that's part of that process as well for you. On the preschool, I think the key thing to keep in mind here is we're still very, very, modestly priced for preschool costs in the coming year. We utilize a state structure that for median income to help us sort of parse this again, trying to provide some relief for families if they need it in order to meet the tuition requirements. Again, our overall price, if you look at that, for the full day of $69.30 and the half day of just under $3,500 is still pretty modestly priced in the area relative to preschool programming. So I think we're going to be fine there, and our families are going to be okay, and we've got supports for those that are having more issues in trying to provide the resource to that. The final one on facility use, sort of across the board 10% increase. We have a minimum charge of basically a couple of hours for all of those. The one other adjustment that's a little more than that is for the pool. In our previous pool rates, we have the same as like the high school auditorium. The heating of the pool and the chemicals for the pool are more expensive than the sort of lights and audio equipment in the wear and tear on the pool is more than what you would find in, say, an auditorium or a classroom, that sort of thing. So there's a slightly more than 10% bump up on the pool rental rate to just accommodate for those expenses that we incur as part of that service. Otherwise, the rest of the structure and how we approach our facilities use and rentals has not changed. We're keeping the same as what we have. And it's not sort of clearly explicit there, but Class A and Class B are we don't charge for those. We might charge if it's in off hours time period, we might charge for some of the custodial costs, but that would be it. But no room rental or floor space rental, square footage rental, that kind of thing. We're not doing to A and B. A being basically us, B being like contract departments, that sort of thing. So hopefully I haven't been too quick with that, but nonetheless hopefully clear enough, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
You answered all my questions. Thank you, John.
What is the process for a family that's suffering some financial hardship to apply for a waiver on some of these fees?
So the department that holds that information is the food services department. Even though we have universal free lunch at this time, they are still the department that collects the information about eligibility for free and reduced lunch. So what is due to as economic need is defined by eligibility for that program, would do is sign what's known as an information sharing form, because that also is very highly sensitive information. The food service department has to keep that information segregated and confidential unless a family agrees to disclose it for the purpose of obtaining a waiver. So what they would do is go to the food service department, sign the information sharing form, which would then be shared with other school departments, and that would trigger waivers such as reduced athletic fees, reduced fees for testing, and actually our policy says any kind of fee, fine, or charge that we charge students would be subject to a reduction in fee if the student has completed that process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, it is now time for public comment. Thank you, Doug. Is there anyone here that wishes to make public comment this evening? Georgina? Okay. All right, so we will continue. Subcommittee updates. I do not believe there's anything. Lisa's not here tonight for the curriculum subcommittee. Planning committee, nothing to report at this time. Finance, operations, and technology subcommittee. Mike, are you still on?
I am still on. We don't have anything to report. We've not had another meeting. So there's nothing to be aware of other than the contingency school meeting, which we already heard, that's in place in case we got issues to resolve after town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Town meetings are Monday, May 11th in both towns, so please attend. So we'll move on to the LPVEC collaborative representative. Lisa's not here this evening. There's nothing to report from negotiation subcommittee. Policy subcommittee, Mike?
Yes, so we have the first reading for a new policy that's going to be for our department regarding AI guidelines. There's not a numerical letter of designation for artificial intelligence guidelines, so it's going to be added to the handbook. And hold on, pulling up the actual name of the policy is the HWRC, Generative AI Guidelines, Human-Centered Learning. So, and just as a brief summary for those that weren't in the policy meeting, this guideline kind of talks about, appropriate ways for AI to be introduced into the classroom in terms of, students learning to use it as a tool, basically, and kind of some parameters and guardrails around that. That's it. It's only first reading, so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mike?
I just have a quick one, and I've read this, unfortunately, quickly twice. I didn't see anything in here that any violation of this policy would incur, or is like, what happens if someone was told to do a level 1, the assignment was level 1, no AI assistance, and they go level 5 with it. Did I miss something? Should I read it again, or?
No, it's not in here. I don't think that we want to be that prescriptive in the policy. I think we want to give teachers some autonomy on how they want to handle it. They might want to have the student redo the work, or they might want to give a grade penalty, depending on what it is. I think there are other things that are embedded in here that would result in other types of potential penalties, because they could be other handbook violations. For example, the prohibitions against AI impersonation, deepfakes, and AI-assisted bullying and harassment
Right.
could implicate our bullying policy, our harassment policy, or just other forms of discipline. Things that affect student data privacy is probably more for staff than for students, but that could, have some implications around staff discipline. But again, it's, I think, better to just sort of outline what the guardrails are rather than trying to be overly prescriptive in what the potential penalties could be, because this is a wide open and changing area, and I think we want people to be thoughtful and have some options on how they want to address things based on the severity of the behavior.
On level one, when we talked about that, the idea that was for teachers, not for students in a sense, the teacher should give some assessment in class without any computer assistance to show the students can do math and do writing without AI helping them.
Right.
So it's really not directed to the students, it's directing to the teachers, saying you should have some assessments of kids sitting in the classroom where they can't use any technological assistance.
Yeah, but if they ask you to write a story and they say it's, level 2, you can use it for drafting, but then you use it for the whole thing. I understand, like, there is a huge push, at many large corporations to use AI as much as possible, and there's definite benefits to it. But then there are also, when you're writing someone's recommendation or something like that, sometimes too much is used by AI and it's not really a recommendation. And the thing which always fascinates me is that sometimes some ghost statistics just pop up, and stuff, or things that are listed as fact that aren't fact. And so there's still limitations to AI. It is growing, but it's getting better every day. I do think that we're going to have to integrate AI a lot more into things that we do in the district, just because it's the way of the world and it's an amazing resource.
It is. Number one is.
Because of everything you just said, right? It emphasizes how important it is for AI to be introduced as part of educational curriculum in terms of understanding what it can be used for and what would be a bad idea to use it for. That's one of the reasons I thought this was very good. So that, because you're absolutely right, right? When our students get to the workforce, whether they're working at Amazon, or they're working at Baystate, or, or they're working at the post office, they're probably going to be asked to do tasks that they're supposed to use AI for. And you want to make sure that they're equipped with the skills necessary to use it properly.
If I can speak on that point too, I think the very first paragraph, sort of the preamble, that talks about the human AI human framework. I think this is really crucial for that. Basically says, if you're using AI, the last step needs to be for you to check it and reflect on it to make sure that what you're getting actually makes sense. So that is crucial, because you're right, AI is not only prone to hallucinations, it's also deeply subject to bias.
Yeah, and there's something in here which I liked too. I'm trying to remember where it was, where it said AI is the co-pilot, but the student is always the pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing, I will check. I don't remember what school, but I know that there is a college, and I believe it's in Massachusetts, that has a course entirely taught by AI. That's starting in September. Yeah. So AI as a tool of helping teachers is going to just take education, I'm telling you, to the next level. It'll be a real beautiful
If
thing.
what they teach is accurate.
Huh?
If what they teach is accurate.
Oh.
And the people have the students have to have the ability and the background to challenge AI.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
I'm
what
saying,
they
for the teacher they can program what they want, and create a lesson or create a video, and they can be showing that video as they're going around and checking it'll free them up a lot more, I think, depending on how they use it. But I'm sure it's the curtains all over. So.
We actually did have Dr. Tori Truss from UMass, who spoke at our March 11th PD day. She did a keynote address just about like the ethics around it and the challenges, but also the real opportunities. And then she did a few breakout sessions with teachers regarding what you're saying, like how do you actually use it and maintain control, but just enhance what you're doing. Like it's a lot of learning, but it's exciting stuff.
Just as a quick aside, so you telling AI that you want to do something, you just don't say, write me a letter to Lisa telling her we wish her happy health and hopefully she'll be okay. You just don't do it like that. You have to specifically say, Lisa is this, I am. You have to give it very specific instructions. Kind of like with my little brother growing up, I need you to go home. I need you to go in the kitchen. I need you to open the drawer. You know, I mean, as kids, we would have to, because if you left one thing out, then, you know, it wouldn't happen, and I love my brother. But yeah, it's very interesting. On a lot of things you do, sometimes you're putting in the prompts more information that you're getting out, but then you save that prompt, and you can use that again and again after having all the information. And then also, I have AI help me write the prompts. So it's very interesting.
There's a question in the audience.
I do have a question.
Could you come and speak into the microphone, please? Thank you.
You can see me going like this. So this is my question. When you develop a policy and then you want to put it into practice, and understanding that Desi now has, I think is it 6 hours, John, the training?
There's, I think a 6-hour short version, and then I think they have a longer version. It's like 20 hours if you want to get
The
PDPs or
certification.
certifications, something like that.
Okay, so, and I have a third job where I work for CS for Massachusetts, and there's an anticipation that there's going to be an AI endorsement maybe for teachers they have to do. So with knowing all this is coming down the road, what are we planning? Because once you do a policy, it's going to plan something else. What are you planning so that you can have teachers on a level playing field to then be able to adapt those 5 levels that are listed, which are actually pretty good. So kudos to you. Because they have to make those choices. I can see some of our tech teachers turn around and saying, yeah, level 5. I can see our English teachers doing level 1 and making those decisions. But they have to have a level playing field to understand what decision they're going to make and how they approach it with their students. So I would urge first the training, that DESI training, and then after the DESI training, coming up with a development of what levels work, and that could go by vertical and horizontal planning. You could combine that with these literacy projects.
Yeah. That's actually a better way of stating when I said if there's any punitive damages, but actually how do we teach teachers to, like, when is what level appropriate and such like that. Yeah,
You can see it, and I'll be honest with you, it's already in our Google Classroom. So I have another Google Class I'm working with Simmons University, and I can get these things called read-alongs. And the read-alongs are books that you can put on these 200 books that you go in, because we're teaching teachers how to be teachers, basically. Pre-teachers how to be teachers. And you can pick different reading levels. So that means that I can give you a 4th grade reading level, I can give you a 6th grade reading level, I can give someone a 10th grade reading level, and you can all read it at your level as a student, and we can discuss it as a student, but then I can challenge you later on. So there's all these different tools you could do. We're already using Notebook LM. There's gems that you can use. So there's things like that. And if you guys open up your Google Docs, at the very top, you'll see Gemini, and you'll see Gemini over here. So it's all over. It's just you just don't press it without intention. And so what is that intention? And how do we end up doing that for professional development? And that's the kind of PD teachers like that's consistent and long. So, my 2 cents. Was it really a question, though? No.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, so we will continue with, oh, sure, sorry.
I do have one comment, and I think it's extremely important that we have in there that in every course, students will be assessed some of the time without the aid of AI. And I'm very concerned as an old middle school math teacher, when the calculators came in, we crippled the kids. They didn't have a solid foundation in facts upon which builds understanding for complex concepts in mathematics. So, and that's missing, you're missing a lot more than that. So I think I'm very happy that that section is in there. Call me old school, but I think I've watched it. Sometimes these instruments can do more harm than good if they're not used properly. And that's testament to the training that needs to happen.
I'm with Tim 100%. Kids should be able to challenge what the calculator says when the calculator doesn't give them the right answer because they didn't put the data in properly.
Anything else? Okay, so we'll continue. Mike, do you have anything to report on the Alphabet Corporation?
No, not had a meeting, I signed the warrant.
Excellent. Okay, nothing to report on the superintendent evaluation, so we will continue with the consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
I would like to say that the minutes, as always, have been outstanding, and I want to just thank and acknowledge Mary for her just consistent, brilliant. If I have any question, I go through and I find it, and it has the information I need. It's just, thank you, Mary.
Okay, so we'll roll call. Cheryl? Tim?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Rich?
Yep.
Mike?
Yep.
And myself? Aye. So motion carries. And so we'll continue with the superintendent's update.
Thank you. Starting with the May 1st enrollment is 2,822 students. That's 4 students less than last month. Mostly just in and out of the district, more out than in the district this past month. And then one of our strategic plan objectives has to do with providing professional development focused on learning activities that motivate and engage. Lisa Curtin and Josh Dixon have been working on that through a number of professional development activities throughout the year. And so I'm going to turn over the remainder of my time to them to share with you a little bit about the great work they've been doing for our teaching staff in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Provost. Josh and I are happy to provide an update on professional development activities that satisfy the various components of the strategic plan, including student engagement, inclusive practices, and collaborative partnerships. Erin, are you moving? Oh, beautiful, thank you. The first strategic objective, 1B, ensuring high-quality instruction pre-K through 12 plus, focused on providing professional development so that every educator has access to evidence-based practices that increase student engagement and improve student learning outcomes across all grade levels. So there's a lot to share, so I had to be selective. There's so much great work, professional learning going on in the district. So next one, Erin, please. Awesome, thanks. So first I'd like to talk about building thinking classrooms in mathematics, the framework that helps teachers plan for engaging math learning. I think you might remember hearing about that from some of our teachers in the district. Has 14 specific teaching practices that support all students' active math learning. This work with BTC, as we lovingly call it, has evolved over a few years, starting with our math instructional coaches who launched a voluntary summer book study. And this quickly grew into a K-12 movement supported by our building administrators and teacher leaders who saw the impact of increased engagement and were eager to develop these practices. To amplify this momentum, we partnered with Flynn Educational Consulting, and they provided several specialized training sessions for our elementary, middle, and high school teachers. This collaboration and the ongoing professional development opportunities led by coaches, the math department chair, and building principals has continued, with teachers working to implement and refine the BTC practices in a way that increases engagement and student thinking. We started the 2025-2026 school year with a full day of professional development for K-5 teachers that focused on student engagement. Our elementary principals and instructional coaches worked together to bring these two presenters to our district. Karen Karp, who is a nationally recognized math educator and author, worked with teachers on supporting all students' math learning through purposeful planning and engaging math tasks. Jaretha Lewis, educator effectiveness coordinator from DESE, worked with teachers to learn a protocol to examine student work and identify opportunities to engage students in learning. Just a note that I show the cover of a book up there, Karen Karp's latest book, and members of our math team, including classroom teachers, coaches, and principals, were acknowledged in Karen's book for the work they did to provide insights into making math intervention engaging, purposeful, and meaningful. So that was really a nice honor for our math team. On March 11th, 2026, on the March 11th, 2026 PD Day, we offered numerous sessions that focused on student engagement. Previously, we did a survey to teachers, what were they interested in having sessions on, and student engagement was highly chosen and requested. Here are four sessions that were facilitated by professionals and valuable partners to us. Dr. Nadine Ekstrom from Academic Discoveries facilitated a session focused on elevating engagement in a co-teaching model. Dr. Sarah Pfeffer from UMass presented sessions focused on evidence-based practices to maximize student engagement across content areas. Dr. Tori Trust from UMass facilitated a session on designing instruction to increase rigor and improve engagement in the age of AI. And principals Erin Bolak, Jesse Donovan, and Misty Parsons facilitated a session focused on engagement strategies to increase student independence and success in Tier 1.
Do the teachers have to choose which one to attend, or can they attend all four of them?
On the March 11th day, we had a menu that they could choose.
Now, were these recorded, so in case, because this always happens when we go to the MASC event, and it's like, oh, I wish I could do that one, but this one's at the same time. Were they recorded in any way and then made available through YouTube or something like that?
They were not, but that could be, just our aspiration for next PD, the next PD we do, and try to think about how we can make it available so people can, even if we were to maybe make the slide decks available for people, that could be a step in that, sharing that information.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure. Another way that we're continuing our work to increase student engagement is by using the TRUE framework, TRU. It stands for the Teaching for Robust Understanding, and it's a tool that was introduced to us by our partner Flynn Educational. This framework provides a shared language for examining and improving student engagement and improving student engagement and learning by helping teachers and leaders reflect on what makes learning truly robust and equitable for every student. Building principals and instructional coaches continue to use the TRUE framework and rubric within their school-based teams to help guide CPT conversations about engagement and academic rigor and to support peer observations. This year, principals and instructional coaches have provided professional development using DESE's collection of instructional planning tools designed to help educators implement high-quality instructional materials. The purpose of these planning tools is to help teachers use their high-quality materials to meet the needs of all learners. These tools in the collection support teachers' planning for increased engagement for all students with the goals of deeper learning, ensuring that students engage in critical thinking and interactive work, equity, providing entry points for students with IEPs and multilingual learners so they can access the same high-level content as their peers, and skillful implementation, shifting the focus from what is being taught to also how the teacher facilitates the cognitive lift for students. And those tools are being used across the elementary schools in their CPT times. Not to be left out, our district leadership team, made up of our building and central office administrators, meet monthly to focus on instructional leadership topics and work on our own professional learning. Through this work, we're building a shared understanding of effective evidence-based instructional practices and instructional leadership capacity across the district leadership team. This year, we've prioritized understanding high engagement teaching strategies and how to support teacher implementation of those. Using tools such as the instructional rounds and other shared learning experiences, we were able to identify where we were aligned horizontally and vertically, and where there are opportunities to enhance our work going forward. The goal of this work is to build the capacity of instructional leaders to support and grow teachers in their buildings and across the district.
Lisa, I have a question.
Yes.
Are parents involved at all during conferences or during back-to-school nights in learning how the teachers are learning about this?
My answer is definitely. They think that as part of those back-to-school open house presentations, teachers are talking about what they're working on, and principals are talking about that. It's, you know, we're definitely not keeping it a secret. And there's always opportunity for us to make this great learning work that teachers are doing more available for families to understand and to ask questions.
Yeah, and I would think it would be worth our while to kind of get parent volunteers that want to learn this and then maybe go into the classroom.
Absolutely. I feel that, you know, every school has their school improvement council where they're thinking and talking about the school improvement plans, and this work is definitely part of our school improvement plans. How are we engaging our students and providing really rigorous instruction? So. We did receive feedback from teachers about the March 11th PD sessions on engagement and responses. You'll see some of the examples up in the slide presentation, but responses included providing various opportunities for students to respond in class as a strategy for increasing engagement, using movement as an engagement strategy, finding ways to give students ownership and autonomy in their learning, like giving them choice and voice, and creating routines and structures that are predictable so students can focus their attention on the content learning to kind of reduce the cognitive load. One big takeaway was that teachers appreciated the opportunity to work with colleagues across the district, and we're hopeful that there could be more opportunities for that in the future. We hear that all the time. Once they're able to get together and collaborate, they want more of it. It's very valuable to our teachers. Increasing student engagement is a priority not only for our building principals, but also our teachers. And our district leadership team is committed to continuing this work and supporting ongoing professional development for teachers. As we start to think about opportunities for professional learning for next year, we'd like to continue our work on student engagement, thinking about it in 3 ways. Behavioral engagement, which includes participation and compliance, being ready to learn. Emotional engagement, which includes interest and positive feelings, the joy of learning, the curiosity of it. And then cognitive engagement, which includes mental effort and deep thinking, the real work of learning. And pass the mic over to John.
Thank you. Our next strategic objective, 3C, focused on providing professional development and ongoing coaching to facilitate teachers' understanding of differentiated instruction and effective inclusion practices. On the March 11th PD Day, we had a total of 12 professional development sessions that focused on understanding diverse learner profiles, strategies for overcoming barriers to accessing instruction, co-teaching, and leveraging different curriculum tools to maximize student outcomes, specifically for students with severe needs who may struggle or not yet be ready to access our Tier 1 instruction that Lisa was talking about. Of the 12 sessions that were offered, 50% of them were facilitated by our own faculty, which was truly tremendous. We have a tremendous amount of talent and knowledge within our district, and it was important to both Lisa and I to leverage that expertise as much as we could. And the feedback from participants of seeing their colleagues be the experts was truly positive and something that we look forward to continuing in the future. The next 3 slides in your packet include the descriptions of those sessions, just to give you a little bit more information around the specific topics and strategies that were talked about. and I encourage you to review them as you go about tonight. The slide, similar to Lisa, around some direct quotes from feedback that we received from participants, were that discrete trial training can and should be applied to many different settings. Specifically, that a single goal can be addressed in a variety of settings, and how important it is for students to generalize skills that they learn working one-on-one or in small groups to larger group settings. Inclusion is positive for all students. Building a good foundation or relationship with your co-teacher is important and paramount to success. Strategies for effectively planning with their partner teacher. And one of my favorites of the feedback comments was utilizing the phrase zigzag when something goes awry, where there's a change in routine or plan. We also offered 3 professional development sessions over the course of this school year that were focused primarily on improving the quality of our IEP annual goals and objectives. Those were facilitated by school staff and our instructional coaches, as well as Principal Parsons and myself. They specifically focused on ensuring that every student's plan reflects high expectations and meaningful measurable targets. And we really emphasized alignment to the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks and began talking about how a student's individual goal may need to be adjusted based on the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 curricula that they're engaging with. Some of the key takeaways from those sessions included, the first was that the discussions corresponded to the Orton Gillingham training that the special education teacher participated in this year, and they referenced the shift in mindset and thinking that we're making when writing goals and objectives and making service recommendations for students. I think this is an important time to talk about the fact that Lisa and I prioritized sending special education teachers at the elementary school levels to Orton Gillingham training this year. So far, we've been able to send 2. Thank you, Lisa, for finding the funding to be able to do that. And I think what we heard from teachers is that they were noticing that the tools that they had in their toolboxes didn't necessarily address all of the students that they saw in front of them. And so they sought out strategies with which to improve their instruction in order to help our students succeed. And so we were really thankful that we were able to do that, and then to hear that there were connections from that training in the PD that we provided. Participants also emphasized analyzing data to identify both areas of strength and weakness. And lastly, their takeaway was that we should start with goals, what we want students to be able to do, before we talk about services and how we are going to provide those, because sometimes they don't necessarily match. So that was something that multiple participants had shared. In addition to our professional development learning opportunities, we also provided faculty and staff, both general ed and special ed, access to experts exterior to the district, who were able to provide both individual case consultation and small group case consultation or coaching. These experts included Dr. Gwen Bass, who specializes in trauma-informed practices. You heard Principal DeRosa talk about during last committee meeting how we were able to leverage some grant funding to bring her in. We also heard from Dr. Andrea Larman and Dr. Sarah Pfeffer, who specialize in behavior and student engagement, and Dr. Nadine Ekstrom, who specializes in co-teaching and inclusive instructional design. We tried really hard to leverage participants and experts who could stay throughout the course of the school year, as opposed to sort of picking multiple different experts, which I think was important for faculty and staff to be able to build relationships with them and truly build the same way that we would like our students and teachers to build trusting relationships. And I think it makes a difference when it's not just somebody new. One of the goals was also to provide faculty and staff with the ability to serve every learner effectively. It's something that we hope to continue in future years, but will be dependent on grant funding that we're able to receive from both the state and federal level, as that's really the mechanism that we've been leveraging to provide this increased support. And then lastly, we focused on strategic objective 3D, which is broadening the knowledge base of families on the benefits, both academic and social emotional, of inclusion. This is, in full transparency, an objective that we continue to work on and will continue to work on in future years. Overall, these discussions have happened on an individual basis in classroom, as well as benchmark assessments to recommend either a less restrictive setting for services to occur or decreased services overall. But we've also looked at three major initiatives that are more group-based. The first was that our Special Education Parent Advisory Council had a discussion around how could we accomplish this goal. One aspect was to plan community events that were open and engaging to bring a wide variety of community members to participate. So for example, something like a carnival, where naturally individuals could see students and families with varying abilities participating and joining in activities that didn't necessarily have an academic focus, but really were just, this is who we are, this is our community. The other aspect was around incorporating a panel at fall open houses to provide families with the opportunity to learn more about the benefits of inclusion from multiple perspectives. So potentially from parents, for students, former students who could speak to sort of their experiences within our schools and provide a more robust picture. We also held our first special education student work showcase during our Excellence in Special Education Award ceremony, which featured student work from preschool through age 22. Projects included hand-drawn art, long essays, photographs of the learning experiences that they participated in, and also 3D models. I will say that as we were laying out the work, it was sometimes it was the first experience that I had been able to see the robust and expectations that we've set for students with disabilities in the classroom, and really the rigor that we ask them, that we set to bar high, and they have absolutely met that bar. And I think that that was feedback that we received from families also, and we saw more families come and join us when they were able to see the work of either their student or their students' friends. And so that was something that I look forward to continuing as we move forward. And then lastly, we facilitated 2 workshops with the Federation for Children with Special Needs that focused on transition planning and establishing a post-secondary vision. Our hope was really to encourage families to plan early for how best to prepare their students for a time when they wouldn't have as much support as adults. There's a huge transition when students leave us from public school and transition to adult services, especially now as there's sort of more uncertainty around what those services may include for families. And so it's also helped us think about how can we increase student independence as they grow up with us, to make sure that when they leave us, they're able to be as independent and participate meaningfully, not only in their community, but also the larger community as well. So thank you for taking the time to listen to both Lisa and I share with you our experiences this year on these 3 strategic objectives. Are there any questions that we can answer for you?
I was wondering, is this the first time for the March 11th PD, is this the first time that PD has been offered in this manner? Or the date was set up this way?
So meaning that people were able to choose?
Yeah, the menu, the array of options.
Yes, yep. Within my tenure, I can't remember prior to that, but yes. So Josh helped create a survey and just the technology piece around getting all the data and making sure that we had enough space for people, and I think people were able to get their top choices. There were some breakout sessions that were super popular and they went fast, and so just that's information for us to know, there's more opportunities. I think one of the committee members mentioned like hands-on thing, like teachers, some teachers really wanted to work in a session that was like a workshop, and others were happy to have it be more of a lecture, or then there was work time for teachers. So we tried to provide a little something for everybody, and maybe an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone too.
So I was happy to see the feedback from each of the sessions, but I just wondered as a whole, what did the feedback look like after just for this PD day?
We did ask for PD, we asked for feedback specifically on the organization of the PD like this, and it was overwhelmingly positive. Just a couple of like, I wasn't fast enough to get my first, second choices. But people were coming up to Josh and to me saying, oh my gosh, this is a great way to have PD because we were able to be with some of our friends, teachers, and do some similar activities, but also be with teachers across the district that we don't get to work with, and that choice was really important. We also did a survey prior to the PD day, as I said, so that we knew what are people most interested in. AI was a huge area of interest, student engagement was a huge area of interest, and special education and co-teaching. So we were able to think about all those different topics, and then some other things that teachers were just interested in sharing with their colleagues, like yoga and how to use Canva, and things that are real, like, you learn it and go do it. So lots of, I think, overwhelming feedback. I think you heard the same.
Yeah. I would also say that what we heard was that teachers, which I think actually is true irrespective of the format, is that having common themes that we provide professional development on repeatedly, as opposed to like a one and done, is something that was in sort of going in depth for a particular topic with some feedback for future sessions, and then also just thinking about the idea of somehow we sent lots of emails about the PD session. I think it was the sign-up tool, and so we will be mindful of that should we move forward with that format again. And the only other piece I would say is around the length of sessions. So some people felt like the shorter sessions were helpful, and some people wished that they just had a little bit longer. But overall, I think it was very positive, and I think that having their colleagues be many of the experts who were presenting made a huge difference also, and was something that teachers have asked for. And so we were glad that we could make that happen.
I heard you say, you said choice and voice for students, but I feel like this was sort of an example for staff to also have choice and voice, because with 50% of your presenters being staff, I think that's really important.
Absolutely, and the choice and voice for student engagement and for teacher engagement and their own learning. Same, we're all learners.
Thank you.
Just one more thing, it sounds like that these were really great and people really enjoyed them, and just to remind you again, like, we can figure out a way, I know we have an AV club, whatever, that we can record these, and then that way, I really wanted to attend that, like you said, so many people were frustrated with that, then they can. They can go back, they can look at it, or if I was there and I was like, there's this one really great part, and then they can go back to it and look at it again, and yeah, I just think that would just give, it would immortalize, in a way, the work that you did, so that people can go back and who weren't able to attend or whatever, and be able to glean the knowledge from that. Thank you, great work.
Yeah, and I also say thank you for your great work. I think professional development is essential for the growth of a school district, the growth of everybody in the school district. But I couldn't let this pass by without mentioning to the people out there in the community that the legislature and the governor have not fixed the foundation formula. It is inadequate to support the kind of things that we were just hearing about. It's going to be cut back, which is harmful to everybody in this school district. So I urge people to reach out to the members of the legislature, especially the Senate Education Committee, and tell them that they need to cherish public education as the Commonwealth's Constitution calls them to, and support the growth of every student and every teacher in every school district throughout this Commonwealth.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much. Okay, so we have some future agenda items, the school road car loop, and then just the car line at all of our buildings. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 28th, 6:30 in the IRC. We will likely have a meeting on Tuesday, May 12th as well. And we do have we do have a need for executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, see Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. MIAA, demand letter. Mass General Law, see Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law, specifically Mass General Law, Chapter 214, Section 1B, Massachusetts Student Records Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 34D, Massachusetts Student Records Regulations, 603 CMR 23 sequential, and Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, 20 USC, Section 1232G, and 34 CFR, Part 99, regarding student transfer requests.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we will do roll call to move into executive session. We will not be returning to regular session, and we will be adjourning from executive. Please don't forget to attend your town meeting on May 11th. We'll do roll call to go into executive session. Cheryl?
Aye.
Tim?
Yes.
Sean?
Aye.
Rich?
Yep.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, myself. Yes, we're now moved to executive session, 7:44 p.m.